So a few weeks ago, I worked the Saratoga Reptile Expo. It's a smaller expo here in upstate New York. It's still in its first year, but I was planning to go to some of the other expos like Rochester Reptile Expo, the White Plains one, of course. But then this little thing you might have heard about happened.
A virus.
And everything was canceled. It is, I don't know, 7 in the morning? I don't know. I'm heading downstairs to the reptile room, day of the expo. I am on 3 hours of sleep? 3.5? I don't know. Can you imagine I don't drink coffee? So with the
Virus.
rapidly spreading across the country, a lot of big public things like schools and businesses and huge gatherings and events have all kind of canceled or being postponed, which is the right thing to do to try and help kind of curb the spread of this as best we can. But that means a lot of the big reptile expos where people usually stock up and vendors usually sell animals and stuff have all either, again, been canceled and you have to wait for the next one. They're postponing into the summer or the late spring or something like that. The Saratoga Reptile Expo happened on the first Saturday of March, which is about a month ago, and it was about 4 days before all these government mandates and things started coming down with closings in schools and such like that. So this was one of the last viable weekends to have events. So it was probably literally one of the last reptile expos to happen in the country before all of these closings started happening. Luckily, I had some time squeezed out at the end so I could run around and grab what I needed, like superworms and frozen feeders and things to stock up before all of this happened. And I did manage to buy an animal or 3, but I'll talk about those in a minute. Now, I've gone to quite a few expos across New York State. I've gone to a few in Buffalo. I've gone to Rexpo in Rochester. I've been to the Poughkeepsie one before it shut down. I go to White Plains, of course. So this one was very different because those ones I all went to as a consumer. I was there to buy stuff and look at animals and things like that. This one, though, I was actually working. My volunteers and I were there all day. We had a few tables with education animals on display, and then I was also doing mini presentations throughout the day, and I talk about different topics, like some of my largest reptiles. I talk about some that don't make good beginner pets, like I do kind of with videos here. I'd also talk about some of my most endangered reptiles, things like that. Now, any of us that have been to expos, I mean, you know, a lot of them are dominated by ball pythons and leopard geckos and crested geckos and beardies and things like that. So one of the things I really like about the Saratoga Expo is for a small expo, again, it's nowhere near the size of White Plains, but it has a whole bunch of variety for a smaller expo. They had a whole bunch of different kinds of crazy colored colubrids. They had a bunch of different amphibians, some really cool frogs I'd never seen before, a bunch of axolotls for sale. They had boas and just sand boas and a bunch of other snakes that, again, aren't usually as common at the huge expos. And one of my favorite things is they had a huge variety of inverts for sale. One of my main complaints going to a lot of the big expos is there's not a whole lot of vendors selling like spiders and bugs and stuff like that. This one, there was praying mantis for sale. There was a bunch of different types of bugs. There was spiders. There was whip scorpions. There was real scorpions. There was a bunch of different kinds for sale from a bunch of different tables. I'm mostly kind of done shopping for reptiles. I mean, I have 2 tegus, 2 iguanas, 2 monitor lizards. I have a bunch of different big snakes. I have a snapping turtle. I have a sulcata tortoise. I mean, I kind of have all the reptiles that I really want for my programs, so there's not a whole lot out there that really tempts me to go and buy them. But inverts, though, I am a huge sucker for cool spiders and bugs and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's kind of what I came home with. Although there was a sand monitor that I was very, very tempted to buy. Sand monitors are a very underappreciated monitor species. They were actually probably my favorite species that I worked with over in Australia when I was there. I am a huge, huge sucker for sand monitors. But that $1,100 price tag was just a little too high for me. So as I said, I didn't get a huge amount of time to walk around. We were swamped for almost just about the entire 6 hours we were there. It really only started dying down in the last 30 to 40 minutes. And that's probably my favorite thing about this expo, is that they have this hands-on section. I mean, not even as someone that works it, but as a consumer, because just about every other expo I've been to, they just are vendors selling animals and supplies, which is fine, but I think having that hands-on section for guests makes it even better. So there's usually myself and another educator there, and we have animals that people can come up and touch and pet and hold and learn about and ask questions, and kind of be an outlet for people that aren't really there to buy, just want to check out a bunch of cool reptiles. Whereas with vendors, they're there to sell animals. And now a couple of vendors usually do have a few animals that they do let people touch and hold to try and make sales, but for the most part, they don't want to just get pestered with questions for 6 hours. Hey, can I hold this carpet python or lychee gecko or this frog that you have for sale, but I'm not really intending to buy it. They're there to sell animals and rehome animals so they don't go home with as many. So this way we can be an outlet for people looking to touch spiders and snakes and things like that, so they don't have to go to the vendors for it. And this gives me the chance to say, hey, if you have questions with this animal and its care and stuff, take my card, look us up, ask me any questions you need. I've worked with quite a few different reptile and bug species, and not all vendors are great at kind of preparing people for what they're getting involved with, especially a lot of the vendors that sell mostly wild caught animals and a lot of the vendors that sell big animals. And honestly, I've seen some pretty sketchy things at expos over the years. I'm sure many of us have, but once I saw a vendor selling what looked like a 16-year-old, a juvenile iguana, which is probably not the most prepared home for the lifespan, size, and attitude that an iguana can possibly get, which I talked about in part 1 of the worst beginner pet reptiles. Part 2, which I talk about reptiles sold at expos, will be coming soon, like I'm talking about now. So getting to do that and educate people about the animals that I have or the animals they might bring home is honestly like my favorite part of my job. And reptile expos are like the best setting to do it, because you're surrounded by people curious about reptiles, you're surrounded by reptiles and people that love them, so it's like the best environment to do that in. And a lot of people will come up to me at expos and say how impressive Norman or Maya is, or what their care is like, and I get to educate them that buying that little baby tegu at a vendor table for a few $100 is actually only a fraction of the price that a tegu will cost for its whole lifespan. But as I said, I didn't come home with a new reptile. Sorry if you were looking for a crazy snake or lizard or something like that, but we'll talk about the 3 invertebrates that I did bring home. This one molted about a week after I brought it home, so it's already twice the size of what it was, and it's starting to get that adult coloration, but this is a little Arizona blonde tarantula. It's only eaten about once since I got it, but that's okay, because after tarantulas molt, they need a while for their fangs to harden up before they can eat again, so I'm not super concerned about it. I got to hold an adult while I was there, and it was such a chill tarantula. And I've been looking for another handleable tarantula because, honestly, the only one that I let kids really hold right now is my rose hair, because she's an absolute sweetheart. My pink toe is way too fast, just not a good candidate for kids holding. My golden knee, he's kind of getting up there in age, so I don't really let kids hold him anymore, but he used to. He's more of kind of display tarantula now. And then my red knee, which is super, super small, so is just like this one. It's going to take a while for this one to be a handleable size, but when this one's full adult, it'll be a great education tarantula. Next up is probably the one I am most excited about getting. I've wanted these for a very, very long time. This is a Tanzanian tailless whip scorpion. I've had the tailless whip scorpion type before, called a vinegar in the past, but I didn't have the best luck getting it to eat. This one, though, has already pounded down quite a few crickets. They are such a cool looking invertebrate. Now, they are an arachnid, but they don't really have pinchers like a scorpion. They kind of have like little claw things to help them hold on to crickets and stuff they eat. They don't have any of that shooting acid stuff that the vinegaroon has. It doesn't have fangs like a tarantula. It is literally harmless, but it looks absolutely terrifying. In fact, the scientific name actually translates to devil's crown. Now, when I got this one, it was actually missing half of one of its feeler legs. So it's got 8 legs just like any arachnid, but 6 are for walking and there's a pair for feeling. And the one that's missing on the left-hand side, you can see, it's missing right at kind of at the base of it. And that, I mean, doesn't really affect him any. He doesn't have to survive in the wild. He can still use this one to feel around for food. But I have to wait for him to get bigger, because obviously I'm not going to take him to programs at this size, just like the blonde and the red knee tarantulas. I just need to wait for him to put some size on. Now, I've had Asian forest scorpions like this one before, and I've had emperor scorpions, but none of them have really been handleable. This is the first one I've had in years that has been handleable. The show's been kind of scorpionless for a while. I can take this to programs. He's done very, very well so far. He just kind of sits there, and he's kind of reared back right now. He's just kind of uneasy, but he's not acting aggressive or anything like that. He's not being super defensive. Now, I was kind of hesitant to get another Asian forest scorpion because they are very cheap. You can get an Asian forest scorpion for like $20, but for the most part, they are known for being very, very non-handleable. They have a little bit of an attitude to them, and this one has been very surprising with just how chill it's been. And a lot of kids find him very impressive for his size, because I mean, a lot of kids kind of imagine or know what a tarantula looks like, but it's not every day you get to see a fairly sizable scorpion up close. And this has just been my best experience owning a scorpion so far. He ate the day after I brought him home. He's been eating like crazy, and he has just been a very, very good boy. So those are my new animals and some footage from what was probably one of the last expos to happen before this whole thing happened and we're all in quarantine. If you're looking for some stuff to do during quarantine, I already have over a dozen videos on my channel if you want to go back and watch those. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss on any of our future videos. Like I said, that part 2 worst beginner pet reptiles video is coming soon with reptiles at expos. Like the video if you learned something, and comment down below if there was an animal you were hoping to add to your family this year at an expo. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you later.